President Trump now doubling his punch on steel and aluminum tariffs.
We're going to bring it from 25% to 50%, the tariffs on steel into the United States of America.
Importer, the major source of U.S. steel and aluminum. More than half of U.S. aluminum comes in from Canada. If you take the next 9 sources of it and double it, we still get more from Canada. They're also our top source of steel.
You didn't ask for pricier sodas or costlier beer runs, but that's exactly what's sneaking into your grocery basket right now. The quiet pinch you're feeling at checkout has a single spark point, an announcement made on June 4th, 2025. On that day, Donald Trump didn't just talk tough. He swung hard, doubling tariffs on imported aluminum and steel to a staggering 50%. To his supporters, it was a patriotic punch. Defend U.S. industry, revive American pride. But for companies like Coca-Cola and for everyday families, it landed like a sucker punch. Suddenly, the backbone of cans, aluminum, wasn't just a commodity. It became a crisis point. The ripple wasn't confined to boardrooms. It bled straight into Friday night six-packs, family cookouts, and the weekly shopping bill. So buckle up, because this tariff shockwave is only just beginning to hit. When Trump's tariff hammer dropped, aluminum was the first to feel the blow. This isn't some obscure industrial input tucked away in a factory corner. It's the silent backbone of modern packaging. Billions of cans holding everything from Coke to Coors to Campbell's soup. And when the price of aluminum shoots upward, the shock ricochets through entire industries straight into grocery aisles. Take Coca-Cola. Its CEO, James Quincy, didn't sugarcoat the warning. He made it clear. This wasn't a minor policy shuffle. It was a seismic cost surge that would ripple down to every shelf in America. And Coke isn't standing alone. The Can Manufacturers Institute, the group that represents the companies that churn out those shiny cylinders by the millions, echoed the alarm. From soda to beer to baked beans, if it comes in a can, it just got more expensive. Here's the catch. The United States doesn't make enough aluminum to keep itself supplied. Nearly half of the nation's demand is covered by imports, with Canada as the dominant supplier. Now every truckload crossing the border comes stamped with a 50% tax. Think of it like ordering a pizza, only to be told there's now a box fee slapped on top. The product's the same, but suddenly it costs a lot more. For Coca-Cola, the math is brutal. Higher input costs squeeze profits, retailers mark up inventory, and families feel the sting at checkout. And while Coke has the scale and brand loyalty to cushion some of the hit, smaller players, like craft breweries, don't have that luxury. Craft beer makers, already fighting thin margins, rely heavily on cheap, reliable aluminum cans. They don't have the war chests of corporate giants to absorb the tariff shock. That leaves them with two choices: jack up prices and risk losing loyal drinkers, or eat the costs and watch their balance sheets bleed. Neither option is sustainable. For many mom-and-pop breweries, this policy shift isn't just an inconvenience. It's an existential threat. Even food titans like Campbell's Soup Company are stuck in the same bind. Canned goods are their lifeline. Every uptick in aluminum prices translates directly into pricier soups and packaged foods. The burden doesn't vanish. It simply slides down the chain until it lands squarely on household budgets. And here's the harsh reality. America can't just flip a switch and produce its way out of this mess. Even if every idled smelter in the country restarted tomorrow, the US still wouldn't generate enough aluminum to cover demand. Which means, like it or not, imports aren't optional. They're essential. That leaves America locked in a paradox. The tariffs were sold as protection, but on the ground, they're functioning like a chokehold. The fallout doesn't end in the supermarket. US trading partners see these tariffs as more than a tax. They see them as a slap in the face. Canada and Mexico have already blasted Washington for unfair treatment. And across the Atlantic, the European Union is muttering about retaliation. One domino tips into another, and suddenly a policy meant to protect America looks like the opening move in a global trade skirmish. The Trump administration insists this is about national security. The narrative goes, America shouldn't depend on foreign aluminum when its defense industry could need it tomorrow. But critics call this a hollow excuse. They point to decades of studies showing that tariffs often destroy more jobs than they create. Costs spike, competitiveness sinks, and industries downstream, like beverages, autos, and food packaging, pay the price. And if history is any indication, this round could be even harsher. The global economy is far more interconnected today than during past trade wars. Supply chains don't sit still, they reroute. Companies shift production, consumers shift habits, and the pain spreads in unpredictable ways. Which circles us back to Coca-Cola. The way Coke responds will set the tone for the entire beverage industry. The company is already testing workarounds. Could they shift more drinks into plastic bottles? On paper, maybe, but in practice, it's a minefield. Consumers are already skeptical of plastic for environmental reasons. Glass? Too heavy and too expensive to scale. Aluminum, despite the price surge, remains the gold standard. So Coke is left threading a dangerous needle. Raise prices too aggressively and risk losing customers to rivals. Absorb too much of the hit and profits nosedive. Any decision they make becomes a high-wire act balancing brand loyalty against survival. But remember, this isn't just Coca-Cola's headache. Breweries, soup companies, and food packagers are all stuck in the same storm. Some can weather it, many can't. And every closure, every layoff, every price hike is another ripple landing on ordinary households. Here's the bigger problem. The aluminum supply crunch isn't temporary. There's no quick fix waiting on the horizon. The US can't simply wall itself off and expect the math to work. Imports are locked into the system. Tariffs don't make that dependency vanish. They just make it costlier. So when you grab a Coke or crack open a six-pack, remember this: that aluminum can isn't just packaging. It's ground zero in a trade war. It's where policy decisions made in Washington collide with dinner tables and bar tabs across North America. And the ultimate question isn't whether tariffs can strengthen America's industries. It's whether Americans themselves can afford the price tag. But let's zoom out. This fight isn't only about aluminum tariffs. It's about the hard truth of a global economy where every move triggers a chain reaction. You can't slap up barriers without consequences. Costs don't stay frozen, they climb. Supply chains don't wait around, they adapt. And usually not in America's favor. So the next time you open a Coke or crack a cold beer, remember, that shiny can is more than packaging. It's a frontline casualty in a trade war reshaping business, politics, and your wallet. What's your take? Comment, like, and subscribe. More breakdowns coming.